Hello everyone and welcome to Culturally Relevant, the show about culture that was relevant over 30 years ago. And why would I make a show about culture that was relevant so long ago? Because I'm old. It's all I know. Today's episode is about these guys. It's about these guys. And who are these guys? Millions of unusually small creatures lurking everywhere. Now, of course, when you're in 4th or 5th grade, you're not going to tell your buddy, hey man, can you bring your millions of unusually small creatures lurking everywhere to school tomorrow? I'd like to trade with you on the playground. No, of course, we called them musclemen. This guy is getting eaten by a snake. He'd bring a fair price on the playground. Since most people watching YouTube are under 35 years old, and this is probably the first time you've ever even seen one of these little muscle men, let's go over the history of the toy line. It all started in Japan in 1978 with a comic book called Kinnikuman. Kinnikuman? Something similar to that. The comic book became so popular that it became an animated TV show. Ran for 3 seasons, about 137 episodes. The plot of the show revolved around Suguru Kaniku, who was the prince of the planet Kaniku, but he had to fight his way to claim his rightful place as the prince of the planet. He fought his way through by wrestling, and he had some of his friends were on his side, and there were some bad guys that tried to fight against him. Each episode highlighted one of these bad guys. Like any good animated TV show of the 80s, you get a line of action figures. Now, these aren't your standard G.I. Joe, Masters of the Universe type action figures. These are little 2-inch pink guys called Kishi figures, are also known as eraser gum, even though they don't erase anything, nor do they taste good if you put them in your mouth. Don't put them in your mouth. I'm not telling you to put them in your mouth. No one said put them in your mouth, but they are called eraser gum. Of course, Mattel in America says, hey, these things are really popular in Japan. We're kind of mastered of the universe out over here. What can we do with these things in America? This is what they came up with.
Invasion of the muscle things. They've come to drive America nuts. They're ugly, they're weird, they're tiny, they're terrible. And they're pink! There are hundreds of them. It's an epidemic. That's going crazy!
Let's catch them!
Muscle things. Hundreds of different, I don't know what. They run in packs of 4, 10, or 28. Sold separately, new from Mattel. How many can you capture?
Yes, millions of unusually small creatures lurking everywhere. They put the very minimum amount of effort into this. For example, in Japan, there were over 400 of these guys. There was over 400 of these guys. They each had a name. They each had a personality. They each had traits, special moves, all kinds of stuff. In America, they produced 236 of these guys. They gave 2 of them names. The main good guy was called Muscle Man, which sounds generic, but that's pretty much what Kinnikuman translates to, so I'm okay with that. For the main bad guy, they just grabbed one of the random bad guys from the Kinnikuman TV show, named him Terry Bull, and he was the lead bad guy. Yes, Terry Bull was the lead bad guy. Make your own joke there. So wanting to do as little as possible to promote this line of toys, there's no comic book, there's no TV show. They did look at the TV show and be like, oh, wrestling is WWF is popular over here. Yeah, these are 236 wrestlers. Some are good guys, some are bad guys. They didn't even really denote who was a good guy and who was a bad guy. You had to kind of figure that out on your own, or you set your own good guys and bad guys. We knew Muscle Man was a good guy. We knew Terry Bull was a bad guy. And that's it. I would say this guy is a bad guy because he's got a snake. Snakes usually not cool. This guy, probably a good guy. He's made of tires. If your tire gets a flat, this guy can help you out. That's a good guy. Mattel was just banking on the fact that these things were uber collectible. You want to get all 236, and they were fairly cheap. This completely worked. In America, at the time, you could get a 4-pack, a bubbled 4-pack. The bonus of the 4-pack was you could see which 4 you were getting. You could see right through the bubble, and I don't have these 4, I don't have 3 of these 4. If you're looking for a certain character, you can see if he's in the pack. That ran about $1 back in 1985. So you can see where these would be highly collectible for young kids, but also would be on the radar for parents. Parents are like, yeah, I'll give you $1 to get you out of my hair. You get 4 little toys. Everything's good. Now, if you wanted to go a step higher, they did have the 10-pack that came in little trash cans, which is amazing because anything that comes in a trash can is better. We know this. It's been proven over time, I believe. It's a scientific fact. The problem with the trash cans is that they're a little milky. You can't quite see through them, so you don't really know which one you were getting. So if you were chasing a certain character, you could not rely on the 10-pack, though you'd probably still buy the 10-pack because it's only about $3, and you got a trash can with it. If you want to get a trash can full of Muscle-Men today, look on eBay. About $70 to $120. $3 back in 1985. Then, of course, the Mongo pack of 28. And I was today years old when I found out that there was actually 4 different packs of 28 named Cosmic Crushers, Cosmic Showdown, Mighty Maulers, and Thug Busters. I just thought they put 28 random figures in a pack and no 2 were alike. I probably had at least 3 or 4 of these 28 packs, so I probably had a ton of duplicates because of this. I would say at the height of my collecting, I probably had 120 of these guys or so. In 6th grade, we had a Christmas exchange at school, and the 28 packs of Muscle-Men were $6, $7. So I brought one of those to school, wrapped up. Somebody in my class got it. Probably was a wonderful gift. Whomever got 28 Muscle-Men for Christmas in 6th grade, you're welcome. I hope that you had a really fun time with those. Unless it went to Ryan Spalding, then I hope you didn't have a good time. I still remember the worst NES trade that you talked me into of all time. Top Gun for Donkey Kong. Yeah, I'm still a little bitter. Of course, Mattel knows how to get the most out of their toy lines with little 2-inch pink guys. They're not going to be able to sell you accessory packs or vehicles, but these are wrestlers. So the first thing that kind of came out for them as an accessory was the Mega Match wrestling ring, which I had at one point, and the way it worked is kind of like Rock'em Sock'em Robots. There's these 2 little claws you can see there, and you would put a Muscle-Man, each one in one claw, and they would sort of battle it out, and the Muscle-Man that fell off lost. But in theory, that's great. In practice, not so great. I had this ring, probably still 6th grade, I'm guessing. I took it to school for show and tell. Kids, show and tell is something that we had before Snapchat. You know, you Snapchat all your toys now to all your friends. Back then, we had to actually take our toy to school to show off how cool we were. This was the first time I ever actually played with it. I put in the 2 characters. Me and somebody else, probably Ryan Spalding, went at it with the characters. The first thing that happens is your characters smash up. Both people are pressing as hard as you can because you want to win. Of course, it's made of plastic, so broke right away. I played it literally one time, and the ring broke. So I wouldn't recommend the Mega Match Muscle wrestling ring for wrestling purposes. Maybe for display purposes at this point, but it's not very technically sound in the way that it's made. Cheap plastic will break 99 out of 99 times. I got to use it once. With the ring out, of course, they want to make more, so they created this wrestling championship belt that had a little display box in the front of it, so you could wear it around your waist. You could put 2 of your little muscle men in the display box, showing off your tag team champions, or your good guy champion, your bad guy champion. I don't know who was supposed to be in that box, but literally, like, no kid would wear this to school. You would get beat up for a month in the playground for wearing something like that to school. I've never seen one in person. I've seen pictures of them. I know that they exist. No kid would admit to owning this if they actually had it. I mean, maybe you'd run around your room at home with it on, but you'd have to be fairly young to want to show this off. And people who collected Musclemen were cool. We're 5th graders and 6th graders. That's a thing for little kids. We wouldn't be caught dead with that thing around our waists. Another thing that Mattel did to poke collecting was you could get a free poster that showed all 236 figures that were available if you send in so many proofs of purchase from the 4-pack, from the 10-pack, from the 28-pack, whatever. You could get this poster. It would show you all 236 characters, so you could see how many that you had. But of course, all that really does is make you want to get all 236. And since they didn't sell them singularly, you had to buy another 4-pack if you could find it, or another 10-pack and hope he was in there, or another 28-pack and hope that he was in there. I never had this poster, but I kind of wish that I did. As with any toy in the 80s, when Nintendo came out, of course there was an official Nintendo M.U.S.C.L.E licensed game. It was a wrestling game, and from what I recall, it could have been the actual worst game on the NES. And as I mentioned before, I played Top Gun. I traded for it. I've regretted it my whole life. But this game might have actually been worse than Top Gun. Don't play it. Only get it if you're trying to collect like every single Nintendo game ever, I guess. But then just collect it and don't play it. This M.U.S.C.L.E had a board game called the M.U.S.C.L.E Mega Match board game. And basically it was like a little arena. And it came with 5 bad guys, 5 good guy M.U.S.C.L.E figures. The cool thing about these were one set was green, one set was purple, and some of the characters you couldn't get in green or purple. So the only way for you to get these characters, if you were like a huge big time collector, was to buy this game. Now I had this game not because I was trying to collect the characters, because I have a lot of family and it's an easy thing to get somebody for Christmas or their birthday, and I'm sure it was fairly cheap because it was super cheaply made. It was just a paper like Coliseum, and it was kind of like checkers. Like you spun a thing, you move that many squares or whatever, and when 2 of the muscle men ended up on the same square, literally you spun the wheel again, and whoever got the highest score won. The loser was banished from the board. The board game, like most of the line, had the least amount of thought or energy put into it as possible, but it worked because somehow I acquired it as a kid, whether it was bought for me or whether I purchased it myself, I don't remember, but somehow Mattel got my money, or got some money, for this particular board game. Finally, when the well was about to run dry on millions of unusually small creatures lurking everywhere, Mattel introduced new colors. So previously, for a year, we only had 236 pink colors. They didn't make any more molds. There wasn't different characters. It was all the same characters, same molds. They just put in different color plastic. So you could get this lizard guy, pink. You could get him blue, green, red, orange, whatever colors were available. There was 9 altogether. So of course you're going to want to get your favorite character in all of the colors. That is what Mattel was banking on for some resellability of these Musclemen. And it was crazy because it's not like you saw a whole pack of all blue Musclemen. No, a pack of 4 might have 1 pink, 1 green, 1 orange, and 1 blue. There was no rhyme or reason to this color thing whatsoever, and it ultimately was the downfall of the line, because at that point I think people were like, now they're just trying to get money. We need to move on to something else. And we did. We moved on. We moved on to something else. M.U.S.C.L.E went into a closet to be eaten by dogs, to be sold at yard sales, to be thrown away with the garbage, which is why today they cost so much on eBay. They're kind of around today. There's a company called Super 7 that bought the rights to M.U.S.C.L.E, but they didn't buy the rights to Kanuku-Men. So they don't have these guys. They don't have the wrestling like action figures, but they have the rights to make like tiny plastic pink things. So they have expanded out. They can't make the wrestling musclemen from the 80s, but they can make little tiny Masters of the Universe characters, or the Aliens franchise, or Iron Maiden characters. So you can still get muscle-like characters from this company, Super 7. They're probably available at stores and online. Here's a common misconception. People would think that since he was one of 2 American figures that had a name, he was on all of the artwork, he was the main character of the Japanese comic book and TV show, that you would want to get M.U.S.C.L.E, as he was known in America, but that's not true. Nobody cared about M.U.S.C.L.E. The guy that you wanted, the guy that everybody wants in all the colors, this guy. He's just called the Claw. We don't know. We had to make up a name because Mattel didn't give him a name. But he's a hand. He's got a little face. This is the guy. This was the Chaser. You could get 2 or 3 figures for this guy in the school playground if you had him. If you look on eBay, this is the only guy being sold a la carte. You don't see Muscle Man or Kanuku-Man or Terry Bull up there. The Claw. We had to name him the Claw because Mattel didn't give him a name, so we named him the Claw. And that's it. That's it for M.U.S.C.L.E. This is the first episode of Culturally Relevant. Hopefully either brought back some memories or introduced you to some crazy 80s toy that was a fad for about a year. So as with all YouTube channels, I guess subscribe. Hit the bell. That's what they say. They say hit the bell for notification. Hit the bell for notifications. And subscribe and share with your friends, unless it's you, Ryan Spalding. You're not allowed to subscribe to my channel until I get my Donkey Kong game back.